All right, welcome to Lunch and Learn. Things are going to be looking a little different for us over the next couple weeks. We are starting off a series called Aspiring Leader Series. And what we're going to be doing is looking at different leadership roles across the division and what a day in the life of may be like. So, for those of you who are interested in potentially taking that next step in your career, we wanted to give you some insight into some of our outstanding leaders and what their roles look like so you can begin to think about what steps you might want to take moving forward. So today I'm starting off with an amazing group of deans, and I will turn it over to let them introduce themselves before we get started.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Castine, and I'm the Dean of Students at Elephants Fork Elementary.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Sproul, Dean of Students at the College and Career Academy at Pruden. Some of you know it as CCAP.
Good morning. My name is Denzel White, and I'm the Dean of Students of Navin River High School.
Great. Well, thank you all for your introductions and for joining me today. We're going to jump right in with our first question, which I'm going to ask you all to just share a little bit about your leadership journey. How did you begin building those leadership skills and seeking out those opportunities?
Yes, I'll jump in. My leadership journey began as both a teacher and a coach. I've always had a passion for sports, so that's where I started to develop those leadership skills. I've coached multiple sports, and I strive to develop those positive relationships with my student athletes and their parents and families. So as I could see the impact I was having on those student athletes and the relationships we built, putting them in positions to be successful, I started to want to have an impact on a wider level at the school division level at a school. So while at Kings Fork High School, I gained knowledge from the administrators that were currently there and began to seek out opportunities to serve on different committees and just at different areas where I could observe and become more involved.
Mine is different from my counterpart. I started in actually 1991 when I opened up my own hair salon. So I became an entrepreneur back in 1991. And from there, I just didn't want to do hair anymore. And so I decided to switch my career. And I enrolled at Norfolk State University and got a degree in business education. Then that wasn't enough. I was hungry for more because education has always been the center of my heart and a passion that I had. And I received my EDS from Virginia Tech in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Never been a teacher before, and got my first teaching job with Suffolk because this is home for me at John Yates Middle School. So, and that happened in the middle of the year. A teacher left and I came in blindsided, didn't know what I was getting into. And so I was the business education teacher there. And in that position, I served in several leadership roles. First year on the school leadership team, advisor of FBLA, and as well as department chair. And I, always had an impact on students. Students, again, always been the center of my heart, and left from there and matriculated to Lakeland. And when I got to Lakeland, to be honest, I did not want to be in a leadership role because I've been in a leadership role practically half of my life. And so my focus then was just working on 100% pass rate with industry credentialing tests. Then I left that position and became the grad coach and found myself back in another leadership role as the Edgenuity administrator. So I had several buildings under my leadership, and I provided training and technical support and was managing that online platform. So just have a passion and a desire for the students, and that's what started my leadership journey.
My leadership journey began in the spring of 2017 when I made the decision to enroll in classes at Regent University to pursue a master's in education and leadership. My coursework, readings, and research inspired me to work towards developing into a master teacher. After that, I knew that administration, I wanted to develop into a master teacher in the hopes of helping other teachers develop into a master teacher, through readings and seeing the different skills administrators use to help teachers develop and grow. I started taking those things I learned and practicing on myself. And then through practicing on myself, I decided I want to help my colleagues also grow because I felt like if I was growing, I want the people around me to grow. And then at that point, when my colleagues started seeking me out for instructional support, I knew at that time I wanted to pursue administration. I began building upon my leadership skills during the portion of my master's program where I was required to obtain a set number of observation hours and observe my school of administrators. During this time, my administrative mentor provided me with many opportunities to develop and grow my leadership skills by participating in various administrative tasks. Throughout my practicum, my internship, and after completion of my degree program, I sought out many opportunities to assist the administrative team with school discipline alternatives, school safety drills, school safety checks, and also to support the school instructionally by performing informal observations with the administrators, leading professional development, and then modeling, implementing various instructional strategies for faculty and staff in my school at the time.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad you all could join because I think we have a really good representation of lots of different journeys that have gotten you to the place and beyond. So I appreciate your time as we move forward today. So my next question is, this may be a hard one, can you describe what a typical day might look like within your current role?
Yes, I wish I could outline what a typical day looks like, but you never know from day to day or from hour to hour, especially at the elementary level. You can plan and have an idea of what your day is going to look like, but that can always change. But with that being said, a typical day here for me looks like being visible. From the moment students arrive, I like to greet students as they enter the building. Being the leader of our PBIS Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams, recognizing that positive behavior from students, implementing our check-in, check-out program. There are students that I frequently have the pleasure to deal with. So I make sure on a daily basis when they are here in our hybrid setting, I check in with them, see how their day is going, and can kind of gauge how my day is going to go from there. Other daily tasks would be getting in classrooms as much as possible, observations, making sure you're communicating with parents throughout the day. I know that happens all the time, and want to make sure students get home safely, obviously, at the end of the day. But have a plan, I would say, as a dean, but it's very important to be flexible and be able to adapt as you go throughout the day because you might have 3 or 4 things coming at you at a time.
Well, again, mine is a little different because I'm in a technical setting versus my counterparts. They're in the comprehensive setting. So whereas they have PBIS, they may be sitting in IEP meetings or dealing with discipline or behavior issues. That's not my role over at CCAP as a dean. There is no discipline issues here. And we often talk about that in our dean of students meeting because I'm sitting there and listening to them like, I don't do that. And so although I'm the LEA, I do not sit in IEP meetings. And of course, there is no PBIS. So my day consists of bus ramp. And now that the students are back, we're delivering lunches to the classrooms like back in the days, old school, where you deliver lunches to the classroom. So that's what we're doing here. And providing instructional training support through Canvas for our teachers because our teachers are coming from an industry background. And so versus our other teachers, that's kind of different for them. So I'm more on the instructional side versus my counterparts. And of course, I'm doing observations. I do 3 a day. And so I'm from one end of the hallway and just always being there for the students. So I check into the classrooms. I may peek my head in just to make sure all the students are, doing well and adapting because again, here at CCAP, for our students, it's a lot of hands-on. And so just want to make sure that they have what they need and we're practicing safety and, their whole mitigation strategy. So it's quite different. But again, just as Robert stated, just never know what's going to happen when you clock in the morning. And so we just roll with the punches, do what we have to do once we are here.
I will say, a typical day in Nazareth River High School is always different. But, in my current role as Dean of Students in Nazareth River High School, a typical day would consist of, checking in 8 morning buses to ensuring all students get in the building safely, monitoring hallways between class changes, greeting faculty, staff, and students when I'm walking through the building throughout the day, discipline, which is shared amongst all the administrators here, monitoring lunches, as they talked about, attending IEP meetings, reviewing IEPs, scheduling IEP meetings, preparing faculty, staff, and students for upcoming safety drills so they're in the loop, virtually visiting classrooms, performing my daily walkthroughs and informal observations, performing formal observations when they're on my schedule, writing up informal and informal observations, and of course, checking in afternoon buses and making sure the students exit the building safely. And of course, I think reviewing my calendar and my email is important so I can make sure I'm on time for meetings and different things. But just as they talked about, miscellaneous things, attending our routine scheduled dean of students meetings, attending our social emotional learning meetings, attending the positive behavior intervention support meetings, attending administrative meetings, speaking to parents and guardians over the phone. You never know when you get the call, you just got to take it. Attending parent-teacher conferences, to support the teacher, support the parent, regarding, whatever concern is at the time. But, typically the day, you never know what's going to happen. But I do try to keep myself on a consistent routine daily to ensure that I get everything I can done in a day.
So I think you all have done a really good job of describing how not typical your days are, but talking a little bit about all the different things that could encompass a day. So I appreciate that. So what was something that surprised you about your current role that maybe you didn't expect?
Well, I'll go. In my past role as grad coach, yes, we would work with summer school administrators, but what surprised me was, I think it started last year, that the dean of students became the summer school administrators. And so last year I was the summer school administrator for middle school, and this year I'm the summer school administrator for high school. So that was kind of surprising, kind of shocking that the dean of students is now, spearheading summer school, which is helpful for us as we, matriculate into an administrative role.
Yeah, definitely, Ms. Spruill or Dr. Spruill. The summer school is a big change, and it's been fun playing that so far. But I would say one thing surprised me. What most people associate the dean of students with is, just handling discipline issues. That's what you hear a lot. But what has surprised me is that how much I've learned in such a short period of time of all the other key functions that take place to keep the school operating on a daily basis. Everything from attendance to observation to instruction to discipline as well. But being involved with the leadership here, Elephants Fork has a great leader in Miss Avery, and the team collaborates very well and working together. So learning all the ins and outs other than just discipline is what surprised me so far.
Kind of piggybacking off on what Dr. Spruill said, definitely in my first year as dean of students, having the opportunity to be the principal of summer school this summer for middle school, definitely was surprising, but definitely excited for that opportunity. But something that's really surprised me in this role is the amount of support and encouragement I've received from my building administrators, my building's faculty and staff, Suffolk Public Schools instructional supervisors, Suffolk administrative office personnel, other building administrators, my other fellow deans. Just all the support I've received has definitely been, I don't want to say it's been surprising, but in my first year as a role, in this role, the support has definitely been very helpful. It's definitely helped me get through my days, but I wholeheartedly feel that I'm surrounded by individuals who want me to succeed in my current role, who want to see me advance and be successful in my career. So I definitely feel that, Suffolk's the place for me, and I'm just very glad to be supported at the building level, at the central office level, and just, if I go to Kings Fork and an administrator, they say, "Hey, Mr. White, how you doing? You ever need anything? Let me know." Or, Dr. Spruill always calls and checks on me. So just being supported is, I won't say it's surprising that I'm being supported, but I think, coming from a different school division, I've never received this much support, especially in a role like this.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. So my final question for you all is, what advice would you give to someone pursuing leadership in education, and any final thoughts that you have on top of that?
I would say if you're aspiring leader, regardless of what your current job or role is at your school, look for opportunities now to develop and strengthen your leadership skills. Reach out to your administration at your building you are now, see where you can observe or what teams you can serve on to gain that experience that you may not have. Be involved with your students and families in your community, develop those relationships, and start reaching out to them now, because you may see them later on down the road.
My advice would be, I have four or 5 points to say. One is follow the leader, trusting that whatever leadership capacity, or wherever you're working at, that he or she is making, the best and the right decision. Yeah, I always share with even some of the teachers, never question a leader, don't discuss your leader, don't bash your leader. Next is, when it's your turn to lead, lead by example, because I always know that you're on camera. Somebody is always watching you, and say what you mean what you say. Don't swerve to the left, don't swerve to the right. Just stick to the facts. And next would be to accept constructive criticism. What I would tell my children and grandchildren: accept it with grace and humility, because every action does not require a reaction as you're growing and grooming as a future or aspiring administrator. And lastly is no matter how hard the journey gets in this role as an administrator, and you see no light at the end of the tunnel, you got to stay the course. Stay the course in your degree seeking program. Stay the course with applying for positions, even when you get a no, because one day that no will turn into a yes. And my final thought is, if you do those things that the deans are stating on today, you will work your way up to becoming the best leader in education, hopefully with Suffolk Public Schools, because just as Denzel, I'm here for the long haul.
Advice that I would give someone pursuing leadership in education are, if you are an educator, you're teaching in the classroom, I definitely recommend working on developing into a master teacher. I encourage you all to seek out seek out leadership opportunities in your building, seek out any available opportunities to shadow your administrators, seek out opportunities to assist your school's administrative team with different tasks going on in the building, seek opportunities to learn more about special education. Seek opportunities to perform walkthroughs with administrators and discuss and reflect on the data, the information collected from the observation. Be actively involved in your school building. Not only join committees, but seek opportunities to lead or be the chair of a committee. Determine professional development that would be beneficial to the school and lead a professional development session in your school. And I'm just speaking from my experience, things I've done in the past. I say just be an activist, be willing to learn, be open-minded, be willing to be involved. Be willing to stay late, be willing to come to school early to assist administrators with different things. And I'll say that through me trying this when I wasn't an administrator, and now that I'm an administrator, by doing those things early, now, if you ever drive past Navarro High School, my car is always here late. But just doing these different things before you get there, when you get into a role, I think it'll make the role a lot easier once you're in the role.
That's great advice. I really appreciate you all sharing those powerful words of wisdom. I definitely feel like seeking opportunities is something that really came to the forefront. I also love the idea of, being humble and receptive to feedback. And most importantly, too, just connecting with the current leadership that you have. A lot of times our administrators don't even know that you might have an interest in pursuing leadership. And more often than not, they are more than happy to help empower you and give you opportunities. But they just need to know that you're interested in that. So make sure you're reaching out, using the resources that we have. I'm so glad to hear that support in our division has really come to the forefront of the conversation as well, at the building level and otherwise. So thank you all so much for your time today. I'm excited to share this. I think this will give some great insights for people who are interested in those next steps. And I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Colt.